Ray has several poems he'd like to get to, so I'm going to shut up for a few minutes and just let Ray do his thing here.
Thank you. Mont Saint-Michel, that we've all heard of, is a magical place. And Sue and I had the privilege of climbing it one day on a trip to France. And this is the poem that came out of that. In the distance, it resembled a brown pyramid netted in mist. Closer, ebbing seawaters around the causeway swirled with tints of cream, aqua, steel gray. Wind tore at us, greedy toll taker. Then a pack of hounds at their master's feet, a village of stone houses with slate roofs. As we left those chattering shops and aromatic alleyways, silence, shadow, sun accompanied us. We passed stone crypts, cloisters, galleries, uncounted stone niches and passages, magical garden plots of tamarisk and ancient chestnuts. Here and there, rocks jutted out of floors and walls to remind us of what this island was composed. We followed worn heels of scuffing shoes up narrow, coiling stairwells as hourly bells bonged until the chapel, in which, wrapped in sweetest chanting, the white-robed officiants always faded to become translucent in the stained glass effulgence. Now we were so tip-top high it felt we could see Earth's curvature. It felt as if Archangel Michael was dipping down toward us, tipping his gold wing to touch us with faith. We've been talking about paintings today. Here's a light look at painters. This is called the Day of Painters. In a park, in the fountain, Monet floats on a lily pad. Except for beard, a cherub, round white belly to the sun. At Home Depot, Cezanne buys building blocks, arguing with the salesman over most suitable color tones. I spot Van Gogh in Rite Aid, slouching at the prescription counter, pulling an ear, considering Lunesta or Sonata. Down a side street, on a soapbox, Picasso flashes a virtual wand, turning passers-by into one-dimensional grotesques, effigies on a backyard fence. I wander home, break open pellets of words, smear them on paper pad, work them, until no more than chunky clogs of mud from where we come to where we go. And one other painting poem, which also captures our beloved Philadelphia. I could say a lot about Philadelphia. This is called Painting Philadelphia, Friday, 5 p.m. Those people on that street cannot move forever. Trace the light rain upward. It ceases at the frame. The shaft of sunlight will be the richest they can imagine. Just think, they will never come to know those persons to their left nor right. What was their history? Did they have a future? Their creator was an artist. This will serve as their memorial. Those people who never were, who will never be.
You obviously have a love of painting. Who are some of your favorite painters or favorite paintings?
I love Andrew Wyeth because he's a realist and a symbolist at the same time. A lot of people put him down as being, just trite pictorial stuff. Not if you study his paintings. First of all, his brushstrokes are unbelievable. If you get up close, he works and works and works on a canvas. You see every blade of grass on a hillside. It's just amazing. Some of them are quite abstract, like there was a hollow tree, and originally he had a nude woman in that tree, in the hollow. And after studying that for a while, he decided, too obvious, I'm going to get rid of it. So he has shaded the woman out, and yet if you knew she was there and you looked closely, you could still see her outline. So he plays around like that. I have a funny personal story. Over the years, we've been members of the Brandywine River Museum, where all the Wyeths are. Never gotten up to his other house in Maine, which I would love to do. We made friends with one of the guards named Dole. He's a great old guy who's semi-retired now. He said he loved Andy, and he and Andy had a relationship. Sometimes early in the morning, Andy would come bursting through the door with 2 wet canvases in his hand, saying, "Dole, where the hell can I put these?" And they'd find a place to hang them. These are brand new paintings right off the easel. And the thrill of Dole's life was, some years later, Andy took Dole aside and said, "I've got something for you." And he had a little painting about this big. He said, "This is yours." And all of Andrew Wyeth's paintings go for at least 6 figures now. Dole took this home, and he said to his kids, "This is never to leave the possession of the family. Never sell this or there'll be a curse on you." And he hung it over his fireplace.
Have you ever done any painting yourself?
Oh yeah, I tried to do. I don't know if you're familiar with Wyeth that well, but he had a home where he had 3 stone buildings: the main house, a barn, and another outstructure. And they're very rectilinear type of buildings, you know, stone worked. You figured you could put little dots and swirls in. And one of those paintings had snow coming down. I thought, oh, this really sets the scene. What a mood. So I tried to copy it. What a mistake. It couldn't do it. It came out as an amateur piece, no matter, even if I measured all the lines, trying to get the proportions he had, couldn't do it, because the magic of the professional painter was right there.
What did you work with, oils or
Watercolor.
watercolor?
Yeah. I wrote a successful story that got printed in a magazine on the West Coast called The Lesson of the Master. And I made this story up about what would happen if an amateur took his painting to Andrew Wyeth. So I created the story around my older son and his girlfriend driving up the drive of Andy's house, and Andy coming out into the driveway with a shotgun to drive them off. And they would hold up the painting, and Andy would look at it and say, "Lousy form, 3. And they would hold up another one, and maybe it was a little better, and he's just about to draw a bead on them, and they finally pull up this other one. He says, "Hey, that's pretty good. Come on in for lunch." So that was fun to write. So there's the word over the painted. I'm much better at that than painting.
Mad Poets had the ekphrastic walk last year in media. That was the first time I had ever been with something like that, and I assume you had done it before, because I think they actually did it 2 years in a row. Is
The
that
first
correct?
time I experienced ekphrastic writing was at the Manayunk Art Center. And I chose to do 5 or 6 paintings by David Kosinski. Well, I don't know what it is. David paints pretty way out stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was, but again, it must have been a poetic mood. He would send me, this is before they were home, he would send me online a shot, one at a time, and I'd really latch onto it and write a poem, send it back to him, instant poems, just like that. He'd love it and then send me another one, and I did this 6 times in a row. He wrote back and he said, "It takes me so long to write a poem, how'd you do it?" And I said, "The muse was with me that day."
Yeah, I like David's stuff. I mean, I think it's just, to see it initially, it's the colors that first jump out at you. And then if you look deeper into it, then you start picking up
symbols
on other things.
Of what the symbols are.
But yeah, I think David's really good. And in fact, we have several poets
The paint.
that paint. Yes, we
Yeah.
have Veronica, and we have Lisa, and
Well, that's interesting you say that, because we were talking about how many poets have musical backgrounds in their family. Maybe they're not musical, but the father or the mother or the brother or the grandfather. So those elements are very important, I think, in a poet's background. Yeah, the visual painting and the audio, the musical.
and we're probably in the toughest game of all, aren't we? Because poets don't seem to gain much respect, except maybe from each other.
That's right.
But
We're a sub-genre.
yeah, unfortunately.
And yet there are thousands of us around. You know, all these strange hobbies across the world. How many scuba divers are there? I bet there are a heck of a lot. Or people who collect old music. You know, you can go on and on and on.
You just made me think of something I have to share. I've always been a flea market kind of guy. I had gone to a flea market that was outside of Old Veterans Stadium. It was a big flea market all around the stadium. And it was a Bell telephone phone booth. And a guy was asking the dealer how much he wanted for the phone booth. And I had to say something because it was so unusual. And I said to the guy, "What are you going to do with a telephone booth?" And he said, "Put them in the backyard with the rest of them."
Wow, there you go.
So when you say strange hobbies, it's I
selection.
don't think it gets too much stranger than collecting
And you know,
phone booths.
if you look in a poetry magazine, all kinds of poets across the country are winning prizes. And you say, I didn't know there were so many poets around. So it just proves that it might be a subculture, but for the people involved in it, it's very real and very active.